Hello, dear friends. This is Kardec Radio at 11 p.m., nourishing our souls with hope and light. Hope and Light is a book that has 20 messages and a preface, and we're using this for the countdown of Christmas as we are recalling the birth of the Christ of the earth, right? And in this book, which was psychographed by Chico Xavier in 1993 when he was already living in Uberaba, some messages were psychographed in Pedro Leopoldo too. Today, the message is named Gospel, Fraternity, and Clarification, but we gave it the main name, Intercessory Leagues. You'll be surprised because Emmanuel, in this message, he writes, as it says here, to a group of friends in Pedro Leopoldo, Minas Gerais. So it's quite interesting, the context. So welcome everyone, and I'm just giving you a short introduction as people are coming in and we can together study this message. Think about it. Let's give a context. So the context is the following. The planet has a governance. Jesus Christ is a governor and he has a team. Amongst the team is Emmanuel and many others. Emmanuel comes as the coordinator of a team of illuminated spirits that are to bring messages for us, to teach us for immortality. These teachings of Spiritism shall remain with us for immortality. They are not only pertaining to this current moment or to the earth, they are talking about the universal laws. Let's not forget that Spiritism is a science that studies the nature, the origin, the destiny of spirits, and the relationship of spirits with the material plane, the corporeal plane. So Spiritism comes as a science of the universe, right? And Emmanuel reveals to us the highest plans of the governance of the planet. Yesterday, we're being invited to be sentinels of this sanctuary lamp, which means that the Christ is here, the Lord is here, meaning it's the promised consoler. It's Jesus that comes back again. And not the Jesus that many religions portray, but the Jesus we mean is this representative of God on earth that is coordinating the efforts of love, kindness, fraternity, etc. All right? Welcome, friends. We're still alive, right? So Souza, I see Rihanna, I see Sol, I see Sunshine, I see Teresa Castro. Let me see who else I'm able to see here. Yeah, I think these are the people I can see this far. And I know we are here together in this current of harmony, boosting our hope. Emmanuel says in the preface, hope is this divine stimulus. It's this stimulus that is given to us, pointing out to progress. This is beautiful. It's beautiful because how often are you sad? Many people nowadays are often sad because we look at ourselves and we say, oh my gosh, I haven't changed. Life doesn't change. But then Spiritism comes and says, remember, life is much more than the eyes can see. Read the book Memories of a Suicide, and you see how they go back to Islam in Brazil, see a man reincarnated. Mário Sobral was an intellectual in Portugal. He reincarnates in Brazil, poor, the son of a prostitute who was given away to a very poor maid. She dies, and he's taken care of by an older sister. And he has his own physical impediments, but from the perspective of immortality, he planned out with the highest mentors that reincarnation for him. Why? Because in a previous life, Mário Sobral did not value the resources he had at hand. He came from a prominent society, a family. He was an intellectual. He went to the university, and he just wanted to be what Kardec calls the bon vivant. He then committed suicide at some point in his life. He is rescued in the afterlife, taken to the Institute Mary of Nazareth, because Mother Mary and her legion rescue the suicides in the world. They are taken care of, they are instructed, and their reincarnations are planned. When they are planned out, he participated and he reincarnated for a little while in those conditions. From the perspective of materialism, it's unfair. From the perspective of immortality, it's a beautiful educational system. That doesn't mean we're not going to suffer. But then we can always reframe our suffering, and Spiritism comes to help us reframe life, reframe our suffering, reframe our expectations as well. Right, Daisy? Right, Daisy? There you are. So are you ready for the message? Today, Emmanuel, he writes to a group of friends through Chico Xavier in Pedro Leopoldo, and he says, let's pay attention because this letter, it's like a letter. He's writing, there are many nuances in this letter. He says, my friends, this is very interesting. Think of a spirit of the highest governance of the earth coming to a little tiny city and delivering this message. May God grant you peace in your hearts. And why am I saying a little tiny city? Because our pride is so vain. It's funny to say that pride is vain, but it's so vain that we expect that we're going to be great because we live in great cities. And God surprises us and brings the greatest souls in the remotest locations. Pedro Leopoldo, Feira de Santana, and Bethlehem, etc., etc. And if you see history, the greatest minds, they are not born in the greatest cities, like Professor Eurípides Barçanufo in the city of Sacramento, Minas Gerais. So again, a blow in our pride to think, oh, this child is going to be born in Washington, in São Paulo, in Rome, in Paris, in London, and 10,000 cities that we can name here that are big cities. And we think, oh, and that is not in God's vision at all. And then we see Emmanuel coming, not only communicating, but being constantly there. He's going to reveal this here in this message. I know I'm teasing you, right? I'm teasing you with lots of information, right, Silvio Otero? So he says, we are here with you at your prayer meeting as it happens weekly. Pause. So Emmanuel comes to a weekly prayer meeting. Who are the spirits who come to your God at home meeting? Gospel at home meeting, prayer meeting at home, however we name it. high spirits. And they love it. It's good for them. And you know why? Because it's hard to work on earth without secure outposts. When we create our prayer meeting at home, our home may become a post, like an outpost, where the superior spirits can come and even refresh themselves vibratorily, so they can help people in our cities, in our states, in our neighborhoods. So it's beyond you and your family. It's service. To begin a prayer meeting at home, it's service. God bless you, he says. The study of the gospel renews the sources of spiritual vitality. The study of the gospel renews the sources of spiritual vitality. Isn't that fascinating? Resources, the sources in the study of the good news renew our vitality. Your worship is the light for the daily paths. Your worship is the light for the daily paths. We are very happy to satiate ourselves in sources of this nature. And I say we are because the sphere of the discarnates is also a zone of accomplishment and struggle. So Emmanuel is very humble, and he's saying that even them, they are benefited by these meetings that we do in our homes. Think about all the good spirits that depend on our homes for their excursions, their rescue works. Because if we secure the vibrations, they can do much more. Because as you see in André Luiz books, for example, it's hard to come from the highest colonies, the highest spheres, to these dark zones on the Earth's crust without having any place to rest, to recharge, or to help others before they go back. So, only in regions very close to the planet do numerous souls worship their own illusions. He's saying that in our plane, we tend to cultivate illusions. Assessment question, because these teachings are not worthwhile if we don't feel them. Are we cultivating illusions? He's saying, worshipping illusions, which is worse. Adoring illusions. Yes, we are. Illusions of power, illusions of possessions, illusions, even illusions of affection. There are people who believe that if they have a family, they are better than others. Wrong. Look at Jesus. He didn't build a family of his own. We're not going to go there talking about the reasons why, because it's quite obvious for us. But he could have done it. But how are we going to follow him if that's the condition? If you have a model that is married, has children, how are you going to follow this model? So he even gave up his own opportunity. I'm not discussing the reasons why here, but we're just saying illusions. Some people feel that they are better than others if they are married, they have children, but that's a fallacy. Look at Chico Xavier. And you know why I'm saying this? Because in one day, Chico Xavier had his service. and people were coming to talk to him. And then this man who knew him since he was a child came to him and said, "You know, Chico, it's funny because you do all that you do. I don't. But you don't have a family. You don't have children. You don't have a car. You don't have anything. I am even a grandfather already. So what's the point?" So his spite, envy before Chico Xavier's legacy pushed him to hurt Chico, and Chico somewhat felt that sting of spite. At some point he was home, he talks to Emmanuel, and Emmanuel beautifully explains to Chico, he talks and says, "Your children are the books, and the people who read, the grandchildren." And here we are, the grandchildren of Chico Xavier. Can you believe it? Yes, you can say so. These are Emmanuel's words. So, the illusions of these temporary conditions. And Emmanuel says, thanks to divine mercy, however, today we no longer worship whims, but God's will in the determinations of the divine master. But do you and I worship the determinations of God through Jesus' modeling? We're working on it, but we're not there yet. We still go to sleep thinking about the car, the house, the job, the position, the promotion, the approval of the people of the earth, going viral. Many people going crazy thinking, oh my gosh, can you believe that person has, I don't know how many millions of followers? Does that make you any different? It makes you more responsible. Read the book Memories of a Suicide. And we're going to see great writers, artists who acquired a lot of debts because they did not know what to do with that fame. Many people worshiping fame. They don't talk to that person if that person is not famous. But the day they are famous, they talk to them, they go after them, they worship them. For us spiritists, we cannot do this. We'll be co-responsible. Can I give you an example? Look at the spirit Camilo. Again in the book Camilo, The Memories of a Suicide by Ivone Pereira. Memoirs of a Suicide in English. When they do the regression in the spiritual realm, they see that he, in year 33, was a poor man. He was not beautiful. He was poor, but he was very cruel. He would disseminate dissension. He would slander people. He was mentally imbalanced too. And when the day came of Jesus' sentencing, Camilo back then was the spirit that was one of the spirits that was applauding the choice of Barsabas instead of Jesus to be freed. A criminal was freed and not our master. He was one of the spirits that followed the martyrdom of the Christ. He was willing to cast stones. He was not allowed because of the guards. He was the one that also said bad words to Mother Mary. That was year 33. Many lives go by, and in the 19th century, he becomes a great writer in Portugal. He becomes very famous, but then he finds himself blind, and in other circumstances that makes him feel desperate, he commits suicide. Later, he is rescued by the very Legion of Mother Mary, brought to the Institute of Rehabilitation, and spends more than 50 years there, learning, progressing, as Emmanuel is saying. We also learn and progress. So the God at Home meetings, my friends, that you do, that I do right now, this meeting that we're doing, is not only for us. As Mentor Joseph often says, they have broadcasts in the spiritual realm, and he helps many, especially the ones that are closer to the crust, that are not able to fly above it. And I say fly, quote unquote. So he says this position is very encouraging, the one in which we worship the will of God. And he says, our brother X, Humberto de Campos, will resume the progress of the organizational work as soon as possible. Also for me, whenever appropriate, I will continue to bring you something to expand the selective material of the book in progress. However, this pale contribution will continue within my means, since at the moment we remain in intense activity for organizing intercessory leagues in Brazil's spiritual plan. What are these intercessory leagues, right? What are they? These leagues are not tied to simple adoring attitudes. No. Intercessory effort is a service of cooperation fueled by the vibrations of burning desire. Here we know that every impulse is prayer, every impulse is desire, tending to be manifested in the objective sphere of existence. Therefore, there is what we might call infernal prayers, that is, the vibration of evil and its accompanying services. War is a vast movement of diverse desires. It is necessary to light up heavenly prayers, to establish guidelines and purposes in favor of rights and peace. We invite you to join our league. You are not required to act materially than is reasonable in daily routine, but in spiritual effort you can do much, thinking, praying, and mentally assisting. Our work at present is enormous, and it is intended to enlighten individuals and large groups in the realms of the discarnates, prisoners of false impressions that were brought from the material world and that are received in it. As you see, the spiritual, psychological, mental war is far greater than that of unsheathed weapons. Our circle of intercession was organized in the name of Jesus. Within it, we have no other code than the gospel. There's no other ideal than that of fraternity, brotherhood. There's no other purpose than enlightenment. May the Lord bless us and protect us. May God grant you a good night. Yours, very grateful brother and server of always, Emmanuel. So pause for a minute. We're being called also to join this intercessory league. And he's saying the status of our planet. There is a spiritual vibrational war. Emotional, they even say emotional. And we need to ask ourselves what type of prayers. Every impulse is a prayer. So if I have an impulse of hatred, it's an infernal prayer, he's saying. But he's saying we need heavenly prayers. So you and I are being called tonight to join a league of heavenly prayers. That's why the mentors at Kardec Radio, especially the mentor Benjamin Franklin, asked us at Kardec Radio to do the prayers for the USA on Fridays at 11. If spirits like Emmanuel are saying that they do these leagues in Brazil, elsewhere, why not in the US? So you need to join us. And you don't need to go away from your routine, Emmanuel is saying. But first we need to identify our impulses to see if we have impulses of heavenly forces or infernal ones. And he says, war is a vast movement of diverse desires. But we need, he says, it's necessary to light up heavenly prayers to establish guidelines and purposes in favor of rights and peace. And the current times require the same. Today, and I will mention this because it was so beautiful, I saw an interview given by Senator Nancy Pelosi in the United States. And then she was asked by a journalist, "Do you hate the president?" She was leaving already the podium. She goes back and she says, "Look, I don't hate anyone. I was raised in a Christian Catholic house where we learn to pray. I pray for the president. So don't mess up with me," she says. "Don't put this word hatred in my mouth." So it's beautiful because it's an example for us. If I am truly, 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 truly a follower of the good news, I cannot cultivate hatred. And we in Spiritism, the Spiritist movement in a way has become so cynic that we allow hatred to go by. It should not be allowed. We cannot enforce people to think alike, but we need to be fraternal and coexist. So let us assess our desires, he's saying. Every impulse is a prayer. Every impulse is desire that manifests in the sphere of existence. So there are infernal prayers, the vibration of evil, and what comes with it. So daily, many people say, "I'm praying, my life doesn't change." The question is, what kind of prayer is this? "Oh, please take that person away from my life." That's not a heavenly prayer. "Oh, please, God, take me away from where I am." That's not a heavenly prayer. That's an infernal prayer. It's filled with ignorance. It's filled with not knowing, not loving. "But Vanessa, what if I am in a job that I dislike?" Well, maybe your duty is to like it so you are free from your sentencing. Yeah? Learn to love it. "Please get rid of this disease." Oh. But why have I asked to go through this. Heavenly prayer. When we establish guidelines and purposes in favor of rights and peace. Peace. Blessed are the peacemakers. They will inherit the earth, the meek and the peacemakers. Look at Stephen. He didn't react. We need to stop reacting. That's part of the infernal aspect of life. We need to open ourselves and say, blessings, blessings, blessings. I'm grateful, grateful, grateful. There's so many blessings that I cannot even stop counting them. And this is not the Pollyanna syndrome. It's realistic because our perspective goes beyond what the eyes can see. You and I are babysitted by all these illuminated minds. These books are as if Chico Xavier and his group are sitting down like a grandfather to us, teaching us. Thank you, Chico Xavier. We can say he's our grandfather then, right? To feel that he's passing on to us this great wisdom. Let us feel it and feel the love which boosts our hope. Isn't this book about hope? Of course it is, because it's inviting you and I. And I'll read the menu's invitation. He says, we invite you to join our League of Heavenly Prayers. Do you want to join in? In the next 24 hours, let us listen to the invitation and make a choice. If you want to join the League, if I want to join the League, what shall we do? Let us then pray, asking for peace and order. When we talk about rights, we're talking about justice, fraternity. That's why he says the gospel, fraternity, clarification. Hope and light. A lot of light, right, Annie Mercia, Raquel Bakeshi? So friends, here we are at Kardec Radio, studying one more revelation, our invitation to join this League of Heavenly Prayers. It's up to us. If you want to join, imagine the types of minds that we're going to be encountering. Let us feel this good, because they can only do good to us and everyone in our lives. Thank you, friends. Until tomorrow, God willing, hope and light at Kardec Radio. Bye-bye.